an interview. Before we get anything going, I just want to say this has been a nightmare. You guys have been Flynn came up to me and he was talking in a Peter Griffin voice. It's like, dumbass, dumbass. And it's like, dude, you're not like this online.
Yeah.
You were okay with it. And then he came back, he said 3 more times. Graham, dumbass, dumbass, dumbass.
Honestly, I just want to get this over with. You've been rude the entire time as well. Hello, I'm me, and this is Graham Kartna. Welcome to the Graham Kartna interview. We're going to be going through all of his releases, including the compilations and collabs, I suppose, that you've done over the years. And we're going to be going chronologically, so we'll start from the start. We'll start from Tinto 5, your first release on Breakbit, December 10th, 2011.
Yeah.
Your first release. Were you excited? Were you nervous? Or was there anything special at all?
Well, yeah, I guess so. There's a lot to unpack there, sort of, as a first release. Breakbit, the label that released it, it sort of revolved around a lot of YTP artists. It grew out of the YTP community.
Right.
It started by Mr. Simon. Even people like Christ was on that label. All the people on the label had some kind of history from YouTube groups. That album was informed a lot by that. But also I was way more into breakcore aesthetics, and I had a lot of sample packs. A lot of percussion-y samples and things like that I liked working with. Circuit bent keyboards, I was circuit bending a lot back then. Just collecting a bunch of DIY sounds and sound packs. Some movie samples and some sampling here and there. Making something really chaotic and chock full of different things going, which I liked a lot.
It was made all in Vegas from what I can understand.
That's right. It just came naturally to me because I was using it before to make the YTP MVs.
Right.
I started treating it as a DAW. Now it seems just ridiculous to even go about doing something like that. Yeah, for me it made sense at the time.
I mean, it worked out. You got the album released. Turned out great. Your pseudonym was Poo Poo Face.
Yes. A bit childish. And in fact, when I was using that name for some shows, people were hesitant to have me on the bill. Maybe you could use your actual name, which is why I eventually dropped it out. Because you can be silly, but at some points it can affect how much people want to be around you or deal with your music and so on.
Yeah. Let's talk about Super Kawaii, your second release. Also under the pseudonym Pooper Face, released May 8th, 2012. You've gone on record saying that this still is your favorite release.
Yeah, it was going off of a lot of the previous stuff from Tinto 5 in terms of really dense percussive stuff, really sort of all over the place transitions. You get a more melodic song at the top, second goes right into a sort of IDM, breakdancey type of thing. I put a lot of effort into that.
Yeah.
And the reason it's my favorite is because of just how much time I poured into it on certain tracks. The denseness of the samples, repeating like micro phrases of parts of songs over and over again, driving myself nuts. Probably over the better course of a year or so to make something that I really like and I still return to it. I just think it's a really good one.
You also made this in Vegas.
Again, Vegas.
Yeah,
Vegas or bust.
That was your way of doing it.
Yeah. It just came natural.
Early ones.
I think that was the last time I used Vegas
for
a record.
I believe so, unless 1 year included any.
There were probably a couple.
I'd imagine.
Yeah.
I actually don't have a lot of info on Super Kawaii other than made it on Vegas.
Just to keep going with it, I guess. Just really spending a lot of time on the tracks, and I was sort of finding my niche. Conventional music is written with certain instruments, a guitar or a synth and stuff like that, but it's really when I found sound as an instrument. I have a glass of water here.
Yeah.
If I were to, you can...
Yeah.
Everything has a pitch.
Yeah.
Even a percussive sound. So I was really honing that. When you listen to the song, you can't actually decipher what instrument's being used. It's just sort of this slurry.
Yeah. We'll move on to 1 year, a collection of old tunes.
Okay. And then we're changing shots after this.
Yeah.
It's flat.
This sucks. You completely dropped the pseudonym's Pooper Face at this point. You do not want it. Yeah, 1 year, basically unreleased songs that you just had made in the previous year.
Yeah.
I really didn't find a lot.
Well, I mean, there's not much to say about a compilation. Well, at that time, I didn't have a job, and I was starting college, so I had a lot more free time, a lot more inspiration going around, being younger and all that. I was churning out a lot more, certainly, than I do now. 1 year was a result of that, just having all these projects, finishing off unfinished ones, or picking back up where I left off. They turned into 1 year. I mean, it's hard to really talk about a compilation too much.
Yeah.
It has a general flow to it, but at the same time not. It's going from one style to another very quickly.
Just end it there. We don't need to say anything.
We don't need to say anything. Wait, Flynn, don't flush.
Now that's a nice bold girl. let me get in there. Now, if you get close to it, you see things. Oh boy, bold.
All right, your next kind of big release, children's music for big kids. This was Tracker software.
Well, it's a bit of a lie, I have to admit.
Oh, really?
Around the time I made that, I was considering experimenting with trackers because a lot of the people who did YTPMVs used trackers to write music or covers, a lot of Mega Man stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I considered using a tracker, but what children's music really was trying to sound like a tracker song in FL Studio. Again, just having started using FL Studio, getting used to it, getting used to samples and patches, but making the samples sound like they were being played through a linear tracker.
Yeah, because you do say in the same description, delving in further into the realm of MIDI music, and trackers don't really use MIDI.
It was a half lie,
Yeah.
half truth. Let's just keep that between us and the viewer.
Just keep it down. That was December 1st, 2012, right after 1 year. Like
Just
a
goes
week.
to show how much music I was making at the time,
Yeah.
the free time I
Your next big hit, An Obsession with Kit. This is where your big hits are now.
Kind of strange how that worked out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it sat dormant, being released on Breakbit. Pretty unremarkable project. Just again experimenting in FL, a short EP and sample cuts interlaced within them. But it took 10 years in order for it to actually, or 9 years, to become a success in a new way with the Ina series. So I would have never expected that
I
one.
never really paid much attention to it
Yeah.
until the Ina series came out. Yeah. And that was pretty similar to children's music for big kids. Very a lot of loops,
Stylistically, but
MIDI.
the MIDI, but with Obsession with Kit, there was a bit more samples going
Yeah.
on. So that's where it's a bit different there. But again, could have never expected what happened
No.
all that time later.
Absolutely huge hit.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. After that came Rewards. B-Vibes.Shitro is the worst track you've ever released. You've said that before. Do you still agree with that?
What's it called?
The B-Vibes.Shitro.
Shitro.
Yeah.
Right, so that should be enough to tell you it's probably the worst song I've ever made if there was.
Really? What about the rest of the... Does it still hold up?
I think it's a pretty good one. It's one that I feel like most people don't appreciate nearly as much as the other ones. The album art is a bit controversial. It's actually been censored on Rate Your Music.
Really?
It features a nude body. Not Stylistically, again, an evolution of sounds from children's music and Obsession with Kit, mainly working with loops, alternate versions of those loops and things. Not yet fully exploring proper songs with choruses and refrains and things like that. More so looping pieces. Yeah.
I think that's enough for this part of it.
And we're in a park. There's folks looking at us like, what are these guys? Why are you bad?
Right here at Lighthouse, it's not very, you can't really tell. Fan question. Have you ever had spam musubi?
Is that the one where it's like spam on rice?
Spam on rice.
I think I might have once.
You're a fan of spam.
I'm a huge fan of spam. Spam and eggs, spam in pastas.
Yeah.
It's underrated. People treat it like it's garbage.
You made a lot of comedy sketch videos years ago, like narcotics and Larry and all that stuff. Do you plan on making any more of those, or is it just a spur of the moment type thing? Like,
Nope.
it just gets to you?
Nope.
Okay.
The videos I don't do so much anymore. Sort of when I was younger.
Yeah.
Around.
Yeah.
I'm too busy doing VFX to care about making independent and silly videos like that. But it's not impossible. It could happen.
Why-
You like Larry?
I like Larry.
Yeah.
Big fan of
We
Larry.
gotta make fucking sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a quote. Yeah. That's
What?
fun. It's a quote.
My own toaster. Yeah, toast. Bread. Unplugged bread. Last time I checked bread was bread on battery. It was hard, strong butter. Beef, egg. Quality meat. Move. That looks great.
I don't think the audio's going to be that bad.
Oh,
We're going to move on to the least talked about under the food court 97. What's the word?
Alias.
Alias. We got Foo 97, the first one. What do you have to say about?
How does it distinguish itself from the rest of the Graham Kartna stuff, right? At that point in time, as I'm sure you might be able to tell, I was getting more into vaporwave. I felt it was necessary to make an alias for that because I wanted to explore it further and I didn't want it to interrupt people's preconceived notions of the music I already had made. So Food Court, that first one, was me sort of dipping my toes into vaporwave with that EP, melding my own style with vaporwave aesthetics, if you'd like.
Yeah, you hit that off quite well. I still listen to that album all the time. I love all the Food Court stuff. The next one under Food Court was Teledreams TM.
Teledreams, whereas the one before that was an EP, Teledreams was a full frontal dive into vaporwave per se.
Yeah.
But it's not your standard vaporwave. I'm still implementing a lot of my old tricks, my old stylistic stuff with that album. It opens with an infomercial sort of thing, and as vaporwave albums of the time tended to do, they were very thematic and signal wave or lost media sort of sounding stuff. Just my standard fare, but vaporwave once again, diving further in.
Yeah. The last one released under Food Court was Pyongyang Piano something. It's in Korean, so I can't.
Can you read the Korean?
No.
Try.
No.
Okay. What do you want to know about it?
Piano. What's that about?
Pyongyang Piano School. It's sort of a stranger one. I just wanted to write a MIDI keyboard. Initially, it was one big FL Studio file, and I ended up at the end cutting it all up into, I believe, 5 or 6 tracks. But I just spent time using that one instrument, the one MIDI keyboard, and keeping it simple and seeing how interesting a composition I could create with just that MIDI keyboard. And by the end, it gets quite complicated and meticulous. So that was sort of an experiment. It's not something I would do normally, but I like it. No one talks about it.
Probably the biggest outlier in any of your albums, I'd say.
I agree.
The Food Court albums are the only ones I couldn't find any trivia on. No one talks about them on like the Discord even.
It's sort of buried there. Yeah, we don't know.
Very understated classics, I'd say. I think that's enough for this part.
Okay. Fax Foss. Back to Foss.
Hold on. Yeah, do that. You put it down. There we go. Get out of the shot!
You gotta be careful. Don't get it in your eyes. Don't get it in your eyes. Graham! Be careful! Right next to your nose. Left nose. Left nose. Left nose? Left nose. That drink of That's nice.
Hi, hello again.
Hello.
We're somewhere else. Where are we?
We're in a big fucking crater. Oh shit, my phone's gonna die. We're down to High School Mac, dude. Your first and, by your words, the worst.
Well, it was some of the first stuff I ever made, and it was all made in GarageBand, which is sort of limiting in and of itself. Obnoxious music, no equalization, no proper mastering. But these were important years, creating my way to where I am now. You know, I had to have made those things in order to find my place.
Yeah.
What did you like about that album?
The franticness of
It's chaotic.
Yeah.
It's a bit
A lot of
much.
lovely little loops in there. They're pretty catchy.
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a bit about your early life. Does your family have a history in making music or art? Or
My family is pretty unmusical, but growing up, my parents gave me lots of opportunities to try things. I took vocal lessons for a while, saxophone, piano, but I never did them enough to a professional degree where I could pull out an instrument, you tell me what to play type of thing.
Yeah.
But I was given opportunities to get into those things. But most of all, I thrive with the computer. I thrive writing music. So I think I'm just really good at playing the computer.
it was all in your own interest to begin making music.
Yeah, sort of vicariously through YTP, of course,
Yeah.
eventually into music. But yeah, it's no instrument really had my calling. It was the computer. And that's the most comfortable way for me to write music.
Yeah, great. I'm not gonna risk anymore.
Okay. Well, we're in a crater.
My nephew and I used to play a game called Ooga Booga. So he likes that. You can stop the recording.
All right. Rhetoric on Sublime. This album includes your biggest hit on SoundCloud so far.
Autistic Genius.
Autistic Genius, yeah.
A lot of people thought that I was autistic.
Really?
Not autistic. Perhaps I am. festival. And so yeah, rhetoric on some parts, generation, same stuff, loop-based songs for the most part that I thought bass. After that came Laker Voice, Mellow. It's written in a sort of MIDI style, but in a somber mode because it's dedicated to two of my friends who touched by it. They're depression. It's MIDI music that has a sort of slack rock vibe to it that I feel like they would appreciate here.
It's a very thoughtful thing to do. Then we got The Adventures of Death Boy. I think something really behind Death Boy is that it's funny.
Yeah, because you think of superheroes, you know, something like that. His power is to die. He's just really bad at staying he'll block it, he'll find a way to die. The music itself felt very much better than Once Upon. It's less loopy. They're complete songs in a certain ways. Whereas if they are looping songs, they really started paying more attention to deviations in them to make them more interesting and not as stale.
You even featured your own remix of
97 was on that. Never met the guy. Yeah, that was originally meant to be a 97 song. It was a cool and you get some big engine I had a friend who played some guitars and some of the tracks. Yeah, I sort of saved him. He came to play some guitar. My friend Eddie. My first experimentation with guitar on the track. Next location.
I told you 3 times, get down.
Flip it. Flip, come down.
Get down now. We're gonna call to someone. Look at me. Get down.
Flynn, you won't get any
Get-
extra.
Dude, stop! Look at me.
Have a seat here. After that came Loop Tube. It's loops.
It's just loops. A lot of those loops were intended to be finished songs for prior albums. Doing Loop Tube allowed me to release a lot of unfinished material in a loop package. There's quite a number of them.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And they are quite repetitive.
They're all really catchy.
Some of them are earworms, right?
Yeah.
They get stuck in your head. That was sort of the intention behind it. And of course, they're also little nuances in certain parts, little things that change occasionally. But Loop Tube, a collection of loops.
What is My Dad Said I Could Sell the Loop Tube? Is that a reference to something?
My dad said I could sell poop tube.
My dad said I could sell the poop
That's
tube.
funny. After that came the world-renowned Ideation Deluxe. This is where I feel like your polish really came into life.
Something happened there.
Yeah.
So Ideation Deluxe was sort of an offshoot of what I was doing as FC97, Food Court.
Yeah.
So I was trying to meld that style even more so with my classical rhetoric on Sublime type Graham Kartna style.
Yeah.
I was unsure whether I was going to release it as Food Court or not. Once I finished Wilton Clarkson James and put it on SoundCloud, I was contacted by Beer on the Rug, who seemed very interested in getting that release on the label. So from there on out, I put even more effort to make it appropriate for that label. What was expected to be a full album turned out to be an EP of what I think are very good polished songs, a new level of professionalism, at least for myself.
Yeah. These are also the first vinyls that you made, right?
That came later,
Yeah.
but first physical of my stuff, which was on CD, cheaply made a la Beer on the Rug style at the time with no label. Yeah, first physicals at that point.
Right, yeah. We got some honorable mentions. You released With Your Left Hand, from what I can tell, on SoundCloud in 2016, which then got released by Museum of Skin
Yes,
on Volume 2,
Yeah.
released in 2018.
that was probably a track I was writing around the same time. That could very well have been on Ideation Deluxe, that when I was asked to contribute to that collaboration, I had something that I could tie the knot on and send off.
Yeah. You also released The Next Town Over right after that, still in 2016. I still believe that's one of your best ones. It's quite different, but you can tell it's
Depthy.
Yeah.
I really like that one too. It's one of my personal favorites.
It's on Traditions Volume 3.
In that case, I think I actually started that from scratch. That was not something that was sitting around. I definitely tried to make it feel like it's not just a song, but it's audio storytelling in a way. Things like the scream and percussion sounds, slam sounds, lots of Foley and things like that. There's a lot there, and that's what I was trying to get across in that.
So did you get contacted by these people?
I think they hit me up in that case. Yeah. That was on Memory 36, by the way.
Right after that, still, you got Rolling Expert,
Mhm.
Graham Kartna's Slow Roll remix on
Yep.
Flesh World.
So Mark Hustle Flesh, a good friend of mine, I met after doing a show in Toronto. From him hearing about Ideation Deluxe, we became subsequently very good friends. He got me to do a remix for his track Rolling Expert, which was I was more than happy to do. Sort of added my touch to his thing, and it worked out.
Yeah. So you joined a bunch of compilations there for. Did you?
No, I'm just hearing something. So.
Yeah, no, yeah, no. Well, this will be the last one for this. My favorite, personally, Shoot the Moons.
Yeah.
You've said that this is your most ambitious project, at least at the time.
Absolutely. It was a strange point in my life where things were changing. I just gotten off of an important relationship, sort of finding my bearings, and buried myself in music a little bit.
Yeah.
Tried to make basically a companion to Ideation Deluxe, not just in terms of how it sounds, but also visually. You'll notice both covers are very similar. In the same vein as Super Kawaii, I was very militant about making every phrase of every song very intentional, jam-packed with samples, very meticulous in terms of certain sound effects, pitches, percussion, looping certain parts over and over again. Where if you were sitting with me, it'd drive you crazy. Definitely an album I put a ton of effort into.
Yeah.
And my first self-funded vinyl release.
Really?
That Jesus Christ!
Get out of here.
Hey. Who the fuck is...
You think it's fun?
Get out of here. Thank you.
Anyways, don't know what that was about.
Like,
sorry.
Kind of scared me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Weird.
Are we safe?
I think so. Still one of my personal favorites. Thematically, also very solid. It's its own little genre, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What? People think I'm a riot. People think I'm so fucking hilarious.
All right. The Flat Man.
Oh, the flap.
A compilation song from Dynamic Times. You released a lot in 2016.
A lot of singles for comps, yeah. What to say about the Flat Band? It's flat.
It's flat.
It's sort of in the similar vein as Next Town Over, stylistically, in terms of being like a musical storytelling, which is the way I like to think about it.
Right after that came Morning from Fleeting Moments.
Yeah, at that point in time, I was starting to get into hyperpop. I had as a lot of people did at the time, a little hyperpop phase, and became friends with some of the folks over at Desk Pop, Brazos, and those guys. So I decided to shoot my own shot for their comp, and Morning came about.
Yeah.
And that was actually, I believe, the first time I got my mastering guy, my main man, Greg Smith, who masters all my records now up until this point, to really do a knockout job on that.
Yeah, it turned out awesome. That one's still one of your
Very
best.
polished.
Yes, extremely. After that came Illegal Transmissions over Boyos, Ontario.
Yeah, so that to me is a marker of going in a different direction.
Same.
Sonically too. I just got my house, my first house, so I had that freedom, sense of freedom, and my own studio and my own space. Part of the idea actually came to be because after Shoot the Moons, I wanted to make an album in a similar vein, but it was like a band, or it sounded like a group.
Yeah.
The whole idea behind Illegal Transmissions is two guys that live in a small town that do a radio show, or they have a band, right? And so they broadcast to the college radio, and they're not the most popular kids around, but they're able to show the world or their little community what they have.
Yeah.
First time really getting into singing.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Which is something I still continue to this time. But a lot of, it's almost a musical in a way. It's kind of silly, sing-songy, but with a lot of heart and a lot of creative freedom.
A lot of really good stuff on that. But yeah, I agree. It's like a modern Graham after.
There's definitely a point there. And also, I should say, first time getting live drums on the record.
Oh, yeah.
Before the songs have drumming by Greg Smith. We were doing studio sessions and stuff. The first time I had done anything like that. Being a computer guy and breaking into session music. Really neat, really neat.
Yeah. After that came probably your most popular album, other than Obsession on Kit, is Temp.
Yeah.
Cataloging old songs, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, really. Just like LoopTube was a way of releasing music that I hadn't been able to put on other albums. Temp was that. Songs that were from the SoundCloud days before I even had a Bandcamp up until that year when I released it. Just another way to get unfinished music out there so that people can hear it.
A lot of really popular songs.
A lot of really popular songs, and somehow it resolves. It flows nicely, not in a sort of awkward way, but just happened to be like that.
I want to ask about Romantics MIDI, the last one.
Yeah.
A bit of a longer, is it just hardware?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So that's the only track on that album, maybe the only one I've done for a long time, that is all MIDI programming into hardware instruments.
Really? It's very different.
It sounds different. Roland SH201, Micro Korg, and TR505. Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah, don't know any of those words, but
Roland hardware instruments.
Someone will know what that is.
Yeah, but it's something I've been trying to put a fire under my ass to do more MIDI programming. It's just a lot of nerding out and spending a lot of time getting settings right. So.
Yeah. After Temp came this, I can't really pronounce,
Excuse me?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So that's
From Cookie Nuts.
It was a compilation by a Polish label who was looking for a strange and interesting music. A lot of really neat stuff comes out on that label.
Yeah.
And he asked me if I'd like to participate. I wrote, the translation to that in Estonian is flying over the road. I wrote a very jovial, sort of bouncy.
Yeah. You take
beats.
the opportunity to do something different on these compilations that's not your release.
Yeah, for sure. It's an opportunity to experiment where I might not write a full album of that. Right?
Yeah.
Just like a piece.
Right after that came These Are the Shadows, another very style-defining album, I'd say.
Yeah, elements of Itobo, singing, a lot of singing. At that time, I had my friend Mark, Hustle Flesh, living with me, and we were goofing around. He was encouraging me to sing, things like that. Yeah, taking notes from Itobo. I think you can hear me having fun.
Yeah.
I should mention, I haven't really mentioned it, throughout the course of this section of work, it's gone from being loop-based songs into full songs with choruses and refrains.
Evolving,
and also being more diligent and thoughtful in terms of a starter song, an end song. How's the album developing over time?
Yeah, it set the pattern for a longer song at the end of the album as well. Because
that's been a new thing.
Temp had that Romantic MIDI, which was a bit longer. We'll do one last little honorable mention. He's Insufferable. You mentioned you aimed for something from back in the Tinto 5 days, but modernized.
Yeah,
that's what I found.
It's quite jarring. I loved breakcore growing up, so I wanted to make something really fast, semi-inspired by footwork, semi-inspired by breakcore.
Yeah.
Just something really jarring and interesting. Something I wouldn't release a full album of.
No.
Just if it's convenient to release a single on comp, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So that was that.
That was that. And that is that. Bye.
Bye.
You like the crater, Graham?
I'm starting to like this crater.
How about you, Al?
I'm shy on camera.
You're shy, Cam?
We're shy.
How big is this thing, Graham?
Too big to get the whole picture.
It's too big.
It's big.
It's too big.
Look at that. It's supposed to be nervous on
All right. I don't know. I think I lost the camera somewhere. It's just... After These Are the Shadows came Drain, your longest release today.
So Drain was definitely my attempt to make a good album, as a product. It's not intended to be listened to single to single to single. There's a definite flow to it.
Absolutely.
It's also the longest record I've ever done. A physical record as well. Most I've ever pressed of a record. Probably the most attention I've paid to actually a consistent flow from track to track. I think each track complements the other. It's just a mix of everything I've done.
Extremely polished. You almost lost this album to a hard drive crash, didn't you?
That's right. I always work on laptops. I haven't had an actual tower PC since I was a kid, so foolishly didn't back anything up. And I was using this tiny little netbook. It doesn't even exist to make music in the first place, and the thing died on me. And I sort of gave up and said, well, I got to start from scratch again. One day I turned it on and it worked. I was able to salvage a lot of the projects. The main project I cared about was Cab Out of Hell, one of my favorite tracks I've ever made. When the computer died, the track stuck in my head, especially the ending. The ending I just really love. When I was able to salvage that and salvage the rest of the album, I was over the moon.
Yeah.
If you were to introduce someone to my music, that would be a great record to choose.
Yeah, absolutely. You got a VHS head remix on this.
Yeah, I was able to talk to Aid. Very surprised that he had the courtesy of getting back to me, let alone agreeing to.
He hadn't released anything for years at that point.
No, he had been working on a record and was waiting for it to release. But in the meantime, he was down to do a remix. That was just super cool. And I've been a huge fan of VHS Head for a long time.
Yeah.
So
it kind of introduced me to VHS Head.
I hope
Really
a lot of people check him out since.
Good. We found the camera. Good shit. You also got the longest song you've ever put out, Sherman Cut.
And I should mention, and Sherman Cut is an exemplary thing for this. The album should feel like a mixtape. I want you to listen to it as an album, but I want it to feel like a mixtape. Nothing fades out to nothing.
No.
There's always something going on. Even transitions are a minute long, right?
Yeah.
Things should lead to the next thing. There should never be dead air.
It's not the same song from the beginning to the end. It's
right.
Completely different.
But just keeping the attention, not dropping the ball, and Sherman Cut's sort of a mixtape in and of itself.
Yeah, a whole 8 minutes.
Whole 8 minutes, yeah.
Right after that came Temp 2, a sequel. Is this also a compilation of unreleased, or is it?
Yeah, so Temp 2, just like Temp, in part, things I hadn't finished that I was tying up loose ends on. At the same time, a lot of the songs are a bit disjointed, so it made sense to call it Temp because it sounded like it was a bunch of things I hadn't finished. Imagine Temp with lyrics, so it's sort of a mixed bag, but it has more flow than the original Temp, and you could look at it as a compilation, or you could look at it as an album. I think you could listen to it either way.
Very energetic album.
A lot more energetic, and it sounds more cohesive as a complete album than the original Temp.
Absolutely.
The original Temp sounded more disjointed.
Another compilation single that you did, My Storm, I think. Mason.
Oh,
Pendant la nuit.
That was the final Museum of Skin compilation that was released. Something I had sort of sitting around. Has a sort of throbbing club feel to it. So my style mixed with an energetic club feel that I put on a compilation.
Yeah.
I just saw a guy holding 4 fingers up. I don't know. Who is that? Do you know this guy?
I don't know. Get out of here. Don't touch my camera. We're on to the most recent of your albums. 2 words. Toot toot.
Yeah. You want to talk about the title?
Yeah.
Originally, I wanted to call Drain Double Double. I just thought having the same word twice is kind of a funny idea for an album. That album ended
Stuck
up
with
being
you.
called Toot Toot, like a train. So, I mean, that album was sort of like Drain or These Are the Shout in the sense that I tried to make a cohesive album that you're not just listening to loops, it doesn't get exhausting, it's something you can listen to front to back. I tried implementing some more ambient aspects to it, gradual build-ups and things like that, getting outside of my very hyper sort of loopy element and sort of settling down a little bit. I think it worked, especially for the closer. It slowly gets louder. I was inspired a little bit by the Postal Service, starting to appreciate slower music rather than being fast all the time. I really like that album, and I feel like out of my discography, it doesn't necessarily get the love I show for it out of all my stuff.
It's a bit underappreciated.
Maybe.
I have no trivia on Tutu.
What's your favorite track from it?
How can you tell?
The Closer.
You can listen to it forever.
That's different from the rest of the stuff I've made, though, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of just taking your time a bit more, gradually getting into a certain mood.
I mean, you could appreciate the nature here.
No, it's flat.
Your most recent album, For Your Safety and the Safety of Others, Don't Run with Sisters.
Yes, sort of similar in nature where I'm not necessarily always focusing on being super fast. There are highs, there are lows, more lyrically heavy than Toot Toot.
Yeah.
The first time I've decided to get some animators on board, some folks in the Discord, you know who you are.
Friends of the Discord. Even. Yeah.
Every new album I'm trying to make more polished and meld all the things that I've done before into something new and something interesting. That's what I aim to do with that album.
Yeah. Blower's on this album.
Blower's on the record.
How did that come out?
Well, it's always exciting to have someone else other than myself on the record.
Absolutely.
Either as a feature or a remix art. Fucking hell. Can we call them?
Yeah, could you get him on the line?
Get him on the horn.
Oh,
He's gonna fuck off?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right, great.
Yeah, Blower. It's probably him. Decided to get Blower on because his music's great, and I think the album needed a bit of chaos.
Oh, yeah.
It's the longest track,
It
but
absolutely
it's absolutely bombastic. I prompted Blower for this track by saying, do bossa nova mixed with breakcore. Microtonal them. I think he got it.
No, absolutely.
I think it's a good record.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites I've done.
That was your last released album.
That was about 7 months ago.
Yeah. You release yearly at this point?
That's my baseline, is a yearly release. It keeps me fresh and keeps me working.
And that doesn't stress you out too much?
Not too much. Some days are harder than others.
Oh, yeah. What are the future plans? Anything you can kind of reveal?
Yeah, there is an intended release this year, albeit a bit late. It might even be next year, honestly. I've held myself to such a standard, the yearly standard. I don't want the standard to trump the quality and integrity of the album.
Absolutely.
If it takes a bit longer, it takes a bit longer. It should be a good one. There is an animation team on this one that's about 4 times larger than the last album.
Look at these clips.
No! Stop!
Don't make me blush. Don't make me blush. Nephew, I love you. Don't make me blush.
Are we allowed to look at the clips?
No.
No, okay. Never mind then.
So yeah, it's intended to be a full release, larger animation team, and I'm focusing a lot more on sound design and ambient. Interesting transitions. The album goes here, goes there, fast, slow, sing-songy, instrumental. I want it to be sort of all over the place, but cohesive.
2 words.
It's flat. It's going to sound flat. I'm only releasing it if I really think it's ready to go. I pour my heart into what I do, and I always try to beat what I've done last time.
I'm not going to raise my voice.
I don't know who this guy is. This guy asked me, could you, interview me?
Stop messing with me. I don't know any of this. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, and I'm getting pissed off.
What?
Oh, I'll be right back.
What did I do?
I'm back.
Okay.
I'm going to leave.
Hey. Come here.
All right. Yeah, I'm ready. Go.
Get out of there.
Never mind then.
That was the interview. Did you like it?
My legs hurt from doing that.
Good night. And good luck.
The sound of floating on dead air. It's always still to see. The sound of floating on dead air. It's always still to see. I just want to know what's so bad about me, wasting my time and letting go.
Wow, a real live volcanic lava rock from Iceland.